So the last class, we talked about list, and a lot of people they got silent because list is one of the data types which we use for many things. But we need to know how to use them, how to use list very well before we can become successful using it. Many people claim they want to use a list, but they would continue to make mistakes in how to present it. Now I'm going to go over again what we did yesterday. Yesterday, I mentioned that lists are used to store multiple items in a single variable. So you would have only one variable and you will store multiple things in it. In fact, you can store both strings and numbers together in the same list. So I gave an example of how the list is being used yesterday. So it says lists are one of the 4 built-in data types in Python. So in Python, we have data types or inbuilt data types. We have tuple, we have set, we have dictionary, we have list. So list is actually been known by the square bracket. So it's known by the square bracket. You can have anything the way you have the list, but if you don't put the square bracket, Python would not see it as a list. Python will see it as something else. In fact, if you put bracket, if you open and close the bracket, and you put these values inside it, is not a list. So one of the conditions is that it has to be within the square bracket. So we showed an example of how we can call a list. So we named this my list. Then we had fruits inside it. We called my list, and we had fruits inside it. We have 3 types of fruits, and we showed how we can call it. So you want to create a list called this list: apple, banana, and cherry. So we want to print it. So once you print it, say print this list, it's going to print for you what you have inside it. So this is the preamble of what a list is. So then we move on to list items. Then how can we retrieve what we have in the list? How can we retrieve the things we have in the list? So list items are ordered. They are in order, and they are changeable. They also allow you to have a duplicate in it. So they allow you to have a duplicate in it. So list items, they are indexed. So what does that mean? The meaning is all the items you have in the list, they have been indexed. So they've been indexed in such a way that you have index 1, index 2, index, 0, starting from 0 to the last number you have. This indexing is just for you to be able to retrieve anyone you want to retrieve. Anyone you want to retrieve, if you want to retrieve a value. So, so you can retrieve it just using some just little codes, and you will get what you want from it. So this is why we said list items are indexed. The first item is index 0. The second item is index 1. As you can see, we also use we use a square bracket for it. When you say something is ordered, so what do we mean? When we say something is ordered, the meaning is we say it's been arranged in a specific order. The items in it has been arranged in a specific way. So if you decide to add another thing to it, it's not going to affect the way you arrange it. I will show you many things we can do with the list. I'm just trying to introduce you to it because I saw that some of us really got confused a bit yesterday, and I would show you how to understand it more, and I would give you more tasks to do. So these are ways in which we can improve the knowledge. So as I was saying, so we can have a list where we have numbers or we have list of items, and we want to add more items to it. The items we add to it will rather stay behind or in front, depending on where you want it to stay. It's not going to just jump to the middle. So this is what we call that is in order. If you add new items to the list, the new item will be placed at the end of the list. So there are some list method that we will change the order, but in general, the order of the item will not change. We have some codes which we can use to put some items in a specific place in the list. But in a normal day, the list would have the new item in the wall behind, it's not going to have it in the middle. So this is exactly what we are talking about. So let's move on to the next one. So changeability. The list is changeable. We can change the list, meaning that we can change, we can add, we can remove items in the list after we've been able to create it. So we can do all of these things in a list. And it's not something very difficult, and it's not something really tough. It's just a normal way of doing it. So I would show you how we can do those things very soon. So since list is indexed, list can have items with the same value. So you can have a list that it's got apple, it's got apple 2 times. You understand? You can have a list, it's got apple, and it's got apple, it's got cherry, it's got cherry. And that would not become a problem. It's going to allow the duplicate, it's going to print apple, apple. We have some other data types that would not print the duplicate. It's going to print that apple 1 time. So we're going to talk about that one too. So this is what we mean that in this list, apple, banana, cherry, apple, cherry, is going to print this exactly the way you say it. So it's not going to say, because apple is done 2 times, I will print it only 1 time. No. So we also can determine the length of a list. We can also determine the length of a list. So to determine how many how many items a list has, we use a length function. So we say print the number of items in the list. This list equals to apple, banana, cherry. Print length this list. So we want to print the length of this list. So then it's going to give us the list. So before we go on to these items, let's go to our Google Colab and see what we're talking about. So let's start from where we started yesterday. So let's have another list. Let's say we want to have a list called fruits. We want to have a list called fruits. So we would assign values to it. So we would assign apple. We assign orange. We assign banana. We assign carrot. We assign tomatoes. Let's use some other fruits. Let's use grape. Let's also use which other fruit do we know? Apple, orange. Let's have apple again. Let's have banana again. What else can we have? Mango. Another mango. So now this is the list. So if you want to see the things in the list, you just say what? You say print. You say print. Okay, you call the name of the list. Print fruits. So when you run it, it's gonna print the value of the fruits for you. So that's the first thing you can do. So this is how we can create a list. So it's easy to create a list. Very easy. Now we've had the list, good. So now the next thing is we want to learn indexing. Indexing a list. List indexing. Or let me say indexing in Python. Indexing in Python starts from where? From 0. All right. So I want to collect the fifth value of the list. So what would I say? I would say print what? Print fruits, the name of the list. Then I put my what? My square bracket. I want to print the fifth. So I'll put what? I'll put 6. So I want to print the fifth value of the list. I'll put 6. So what do? Then I would run it. So it says the fifth value is the seventh value is banana. Sorry, I wanted to print the seventh value of my list, so I'll put 6. If I want to print the fifth value of my list, I'll put what? I'll put 4. Is understood? Or if you can see the whole list, you want to print a specific value, you can use a negative indexing. You can say negative something. So if you want to print, for example, from the back, you want to print the first. So from the behind, you say -1, -1. You cannot say -0. It's not going to respond to you. It's going to even yell at you sometimes. You can try it. There's no harm in trying. They can say print -0 and see what's going to give you. So sometimes it prints something. It prints apple. So, and why does it print apple? Because apple is the first one. So it counts it as the first one. So it's not that it's printing this, it counts as the first one. But sometimes it doesn't really in Python we don't really have because what would you say you're printing -0 when? So instead of saying -0, we just say 0 because the negative did not function. That's the reason it's giving you apple. So because 0 is nothing, -0 is nothing. So it's going to give you the same apple. So this is why. So that is the first item. So this is how we index a list. So you can also continue to index as much as you want to do. So now let's move on to the next example I mentioned to you. Like we want to change, let's say okay, yeah, we have multiple values. We have apple, we have banana, and it's not giving us a problem. So it allows you to have a duplicate. So another thing we can do with the list is you can know the length of a list. So how can you know the length of the list? You say what? So today's class will be short because it's gonna be a very short class today. Okay, now we can check the length of the list let's say, for example, I want to know the length. I cannot be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not good. So what would I do? I would say print. I would say print what? Print length. Length of what? Length of my fruits. So print the length of my fruit. It said is 8. It said it what is 8. So this is a very amazing way for us to know the length of a list. So we can also we can also have multiple. List can be of any data. So list does not only mean it has to be number. Let's have list. Let's call this list 1. Let's call it list 1. Let's give it numbers. Let's give it 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17. All right. So let's have another list. We call that list 2. List 2. And we give it, let's give it some of this fruit here. So let's remove this. And let's have a list 3. List 3. Let's give it true, false. So someone would ask me, why did we not put that into quotation? Is it not also a string? Yes, they are strings, but they are values which is known by Python. So Python recognize true and false values. So now you can print all this list. It's a print list 1. Let me try and do this. List 2. List 3. So can you see? It printed all the lists side by side. But if you want to have them, if you still did them this way, it's still going to print the same thing. So if you want to have them row by row, you have to put print. You have to say print. There's 2. Give it its own separate. It's a print list 3. So when you do this way, then it's going to print.
Indentation problem.
Yeah. That is something I told you about. Python does not play with indentation. So now you have the list in the way you want to have it. So we can have a list to be different data. We can even have a list to have a combination of these different data. Let's have list 4. Let's say list 4 is equals to. So let's pick some letters. Pick some letters. Then we can pick some strings. Then we can pick some true false. We can also pick some number. We can put some male, female. So we can have a combination of many things. So once you pull the commas and the quotation properly, is going to work for you. So 3579, comma, carrot. Okay, carrot does not have quotation. Grape, apple, false, true, false. Here you got male, female. So now let's run it. It's going to print your list beautifully for you, except there is a problem. If there is no
We have
problem,
not, you have not printed, sir.
okay, I only run it. Okay. So thank you very much. That means we are really paying attention. Print list 4. So the way you run it is already stored in the brain. So that is printing. Can you see? So this is exactly what we're talking about. This is what a list is. So a list can be a combination of many things. So, and we can decide to check the type of what we have. You can say print type. We want to see the type of data it is. Type list 4. What kind of data is list 4? So it's going to tell you is a list. So it's going to tell you is a list. So we can also use a list. So it is possible to use the list constructor when creating a new list. It is also possible to use the list constructor when creating a new list. So we can use the list constructor when we're creating a new list. So we can say this list equals to list in a list. No, so the double, for example, what do they mean by this? I'm going to mention to you. We can use a constructor, which is called this. This is list constructor, where you want to construct a new list. Now, let's say, for example, we have we want to make a new list. So we can say list 5. We can say list 5 list 5 equals to then list. So, but you're gonna have to put double bracket here. So let's try to pick some of these things here. Let's try to pick some of this, or let's pick only the apple. So we run this. So we'll put it in between this. So so there is a problem here. So now let's run it. Then we print list 5. Print list 5. So if you print list 5, it's going to give you what? Now you've got a list. Now that's exactly what I was trying to say. So you can have a list in a list. So, but the point is, what about if you want to make this to become a list? It's not a list before, but you made it a list. So we're going to talk about this more when we talk about set, because there is another data which is being used with only a bracket. So then we can create a list from another type of data. So like we're casting, so we can cast some other types of data as a list. So that's what we did here. Here is not a list, but we converted it to a list. So this is exactly what we did. So for the sake of this class, we will stop here today. So I would hopefully I will send you a voice message about the what we can do, because I'm thinking we should organize this class the more, and it does not fit that I will keep sending messages every time that we have a class, so we can discuss about the time based on where we are, the location we are in, that will make it fit everyone, and we will not be having lateness every time we have a class. Okay, this is where we're going to stop. I wish you all the best. If you have a question, feel free to send me your questions in the Telegram or the WhatsApp channel.